Hi everyone, it's Carol here. So this is your third video, and in this video we're going to have a look at how we might create your well life. So we're going to have a look at holistic health and what that really means. So we're going to look at it in a simple way. I'm going to just disappear and show you a PowerPoint this time, so we can just listen to me talking things through with you and have a little look at some visuals. Okay, so I'm going to just disappear myself out of the way, and then we'll just have a little look at things. So we're going to have a look at how to create your health and what holistic health really means. So we might need to just have a little bit of a look at that, and it'll help you better understand my approach to working and what I believe is the best way to go about changing things for yourselves. So my life so far, as you know from my previous videos, has been a hell of a journey, looking at building my own health and well-being. It's still a roller coaster of change, and the last 5 years has been an interesting challenge to remind me of what I need to do in terms of prioritizing myself, as opposed to putting myself at the bottom of the pile. And that's a big part, I think, of it. So I won't go on about that anymore. But as you know, I've had some fun with finding better health now. And although perhaps you might think, oh, well, she doesn't look that healthy, I'm sometimes can be a little bit stiff, and obviously I carry a little bit more weight. But compared to where I have been in the past, I am significantly better and so much happier and able to join in with the world on a way that there were times when I thought that wasn't ever going to be possible again. So whoop whoop. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about more now is how we support ourselves and when we're in pain, when we're exhausted, when we're stressed out. And we want to look at gentle ways which are not just mechanical, that can help ourselves. So everyone can find ways to support themselves regardless of their current health and well-being. So we need to essentially be looking at our health holistically. So looking at better balance. And when I mean better balance is if our bodies are functioning to the best of their ability, chemically, physically, whatever you want to talk about it, energetically, then any challenges, be they symptoms, mental or physical, will improve. So what you want is a better holistic balance within your whole life and your whole body. So you're creating a bigger overdraft of coping, shall we say, so that those symptoms then become smaller and affect your life a whole lot less than they would do if your body was completely out of whack. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So for me, the most important thing is that you work holistically. So you're looking at your whole life. So you'll know that I've been a practitioner. I work with Bowen. I work obviously with movement now, as you know, but there is no one magic bullet. Bowen is amazing, but even when I was running my clinic, other influences in someone's life affect their responses. So it's really important that people have a look at their whole lives when they're looking to affect change, but approach that in a very gentle way. I think the temptation when people look at holistic living is to jump in and do loads straight away. And that in itself is not balanced. So that can affect all kinds of other difficulties. The other thing I believe absolutely is that the mind, body, spirit is one. And for those of you that have been coming to my classes for a while, know that I even hate the language where I mention the spine. And of course, from an anatomy point of view, we are all structural. We have muscles, we have tissues, we have bones, we have specific isolatory parts of our bodies. But the mind, the body, and spirit all interplays and all affects who we are, how we are, and what we're feeling. And so there really is a non-separateness within self that I think hopefully is beginning to filter down into the world on a more shall I say, conventional, normal way. So obviously, in medical history, people have isolated and looked at specific segments of body. So just in terms of that, the whole world is conditioned to see in separate parts. And you'll know now that the muscle is not everything that affects movement. In fact, the connective tissue, the nervous system, to me, the flow of the body, the energetics, all affects how one feels and how one moves. So I could waffle on about that forever, but I'll go on. So the absolutely important things are that we work holistically. So I've spelled holistic in a different way, holistic. So working with the whole body, approaching health, making gentle changes within your whole life is key to long-term improvements. I believe within talking about changes and within asking something of the body, we should always be gentle. So, as you know, Sue Hitzman says, why create pain to try and get out of pain? And I have always believed exactly that. So she was a wonderful find for me because she could actually explain in a scientific way why that makes sense. So that's really, really important. So another big word, and believe me, I think there's even different ways to mention this. So psychoneuroimmunology. There's actually another version of that word which includes the endocrine system, but it really is just a great big mouthful. And basically what it means is stress and its influence on health and immune system. So basically, more recently, the world has understood the impact on stress from a physiological point of view and how it influences both our immune system and generally our overall health. So that's a really important factor. And I think it's something that's very, very underestimated. Having worked with clients for a gazillion years myself, I would say that is a huge impact on pain, a huge impact on functioning of the systems of the body. And it really does need to be taken into consideration. In fact, there was research looking at the influence of stress and the common cold. I talk about that in one of my other videos. And I think they were beginning to, I haven't actually found the final paper yet, to look at the influence of stress of the last few years and how that influenced the potential for getting COVID or the intensity of your response when you did catch COVID. So it is beginning to be looked at in the scientific fields quite significantly. It's a very new science, so to speak. And I think it has been there forever, of course, and it's just really great that people are starting to consider it. And as you know, I am thrilled to, having worked as a bone practitioner for a gazillion years, to now see that the fascia or connective tissue is becoming much more important in the world of science and medicine. And they're starting to recognize that this is actually hugely relevant on the whole body. It is in itself a system that influences systems and is massively a big player in both body stability, ability to stand safely and soundly, and chronic pain. So it's massive. And yeah, we could literally fall down the rabbit hole of that one if you wanted to. But for me, this is the most exciting thing because it feels very much like a missing link that is now finally coming out into the world. The other thing, which is maybe considered a little bit woo, is that we need to listen to our systems ourselves and take care of us. And we all know when we're living with discomfort and chronic pain, how much we get angry with our bodies, we get cross with our bodies, and we're just a bit blooming fed up. But we really need to be mindful of sending positivity and love to ourselves and really allowing our body to feel safe and loved. All a bit crazy, that one. There's an amazing book by a chap called Bruce Lipton called The Biology of Belief, and he actually is a cell biologist, so he's Mr. Science. So if you kind of hear those sentences and just think, oh, Carol's really lost the plot now, and you are curious about what the heck it is I talk about, then I suggest he might be your go-to. I think he has lots of chats on YouTube and his website as well, where he might influence and explain that position in terms of cells and how we are with them and how our positive attitude affects and influences our being and our health. Anyway, changes take time. That's the other thing. So remember to manage your expectations. Most of us have got here, and most of you have met me because you've been dealing with some nonsense for quite some time. Generally, people don't find me until they've kind of almost given up with a lot of other things. So be kind, be gentle, and allow yourself the time to affect change. If you do work too hard too quickly, your body's going to shout at you. And that, again, is not taking care of you. It's being a little bit too forceful. And you really want to be gentle within. So I'm just going to introduce you. These are just two I've plucked up off of, is it Pinterest? You know, one of those image libraries that you can get online. So they're not mine. I kind of play with many different wheels of health myself, I have to say. And there's loads of different versions, but they're quite interesting. And these wheels of health have become quite trendy. I know that you've probably done something a little bit similar. If you work with the Spring Social Prescribing, you'll have looked at their star. Excuse me. And, you know, as I say, there's lots of different things and lots of different spokes to the wheels that people can create more specific to them. But it shows, what they do show is any wheel demonstrates that there are different elements within your life which you need to consider to holistically approach your overall health. And it's not just one thing that's going to fix. Okay, so I hear the word fix so often. And I'd love to tell you that my spinal surgery fixed me. And of course, we can gain significant improvements from having surgeries, don't get me wrong, but that was just one piece in the pie of change for me. And actually, it was looking at lots of other elements within the wheel of my own health that brought me to better balance and well-being. So, yeah, the search for balance is a fluctuating, continual journey throughout our whole lives. And it's almost like scales, really. It goes up and down in different areas. So I was doing pretty well about 5-6 years ago, but those of you that know me, I've had a lot of bereavements. Obviously, during COVID, my business was influenced significantly, as it was for many people. And so that's out of your control. But of course, when you're looking at holistic wheels of health, no wonder things then went off whack again. So it's taking me a long time to come back to self, having had all those challenges. So let's have a look at some other areas. So I don't want us to get too crazy in terms of looking at wheels of health, but these are kind of other headings that people can look at. We won't go into this really too much, but you know, as you can see, you've got conventional medicine, body work, and natural medicine. I believe both Qigong and Mount Method work under that premise. Perhaps even conventional medicine, when you're talking about Mount Method, really, it's just very progressive fascia, connective tissue medicine that you know, people are catching up with now. Exercise and movement, of course, those practices that I've just mentioned do include that. And by the very nature of the meditative nature of Qigong and how the neurofascial system affects anxiety and the parasympathetic, then that's going to affect stress levels and anxiety. Of course, they're both self-care as well. And they do aid rest and relaxation. In terms of Qigong and Mao, I think they affect both your relationship with yourself, because it brings you better body awareness, an ability to listen and respond to your own body in a kind way. But I hope that within our classes, we create a great community as well. And I know it's always a great pleasure in us getting together if we can. I know we can't always do that after a class, and having a bit of a catch up, and maybe even just connecting within our WhatsApp group. So your home environment and your natural environment, of course, is going to be an influence for you, or generally just environment. Personal growth and learning. Well, hopefully these videos might be a bit interesting and might spring your or spark your interest in some other subjects. I mean, I could really go on, but I'm going to try not to. Mental stimulation, of course. I believe that the Qigong and the melt have the potential for stimulating you in terms of your thinking. Helping with other activities is another thing that they do, because, of course, by doing melt, I'm able to swim again. I'm able to go for more walks again. Whereas before it was really, really, my pain would have been affecting me, or would have come back in, excuse me, if I asked too much of myself physically. And we're all perhaps gardening again now. And I know if I spend 6 hours gardening, I'm going to be a bit ouchy afterwards, but I come back in, I do some melt, and then I'm happy, ready to go again. Spirituality, happiness, all of that is, I believe, also influenced by the practices that we do together. So, strange picture. This was me. I couldn't not take this picture. So this is me trying to be clever with my very tiny cottage and moving bits of furniture. Didn't quite work. So how does that relate to what the heck it is I'm talking to you about now? And I think, we have this thing where we try and fit ourselves into certain beliefs and certain approaches that just doesn't work for us. And I thought that was a great analogy of that. We try so hard, we do so much to actually get our bodies working, and it's almost like we're working in opposition to ourselves, finding what we want. I think when we move, or when we even exercise, shall we say, is to find an ease of movement, an ease of being within ourselves, particularly when we're working from a place of chronic pain rather than fitness, if that makes sense. So what you want is our body to have an ease to it, a flow to it, an ability to move without effort. And you're not going to do that by pushing and forcing yourself into positions and ideals or places or thought processes that just aren't right for us. So this is where I thought the chair kind of fitted that as an analogy. So be mindful that no pain, no gain, I believe, is not the way into health. That can be a bit of a surprise for people, because of the idea of effort is such a big thing within our world nowadays. And we do need to be managing our expectations. Yeah. So you're going to be looking for subtle changes in your body. Not huge dramatic changes. The subtle changes are the changes that will stay with you, that will evolve and grow. If you create a big change, then quite often that might not hold, might not stay with you. And you then, of course, might be let down or disappointed. So look for subtle changes. And in a way, I'm making my life more difficult, because, of course, I always want you to see what it is that you're gaining from being with me and gaining from doing the practices that you can do on your own at home. And if the differences are subtle, you might not see them. Adding on to that, the fact that you might be exhausted, living with chronic pain and exhaustion, your awareness of the subtleties of change in your body are really going to be kind of foggy and hard to see, hard to feel, because your perception of what's going on within you is harder. So again, this is why Qigong and Melt both help you start to look into your body and sense what's really going on, other than just the challenges that are pain. So you've already heard me say this. Sue Hitzman, who created the Melt Method, says, do not cause pain to get out of pain. This is really, really important. I strongly agree with that sentence. And I say perhaps we just need to accept. We need to accept that a small movement, or even an intention of a movement, is going to be enough. Okay. So just remember that big changes from small actions are what we need. So I want us to just be mindful of the value of pause and the value of listening when we're moving. So when we're in pain or when we're exhausted, we really lose that perception of what's going on within ourselves. So any opportunity to bring awareness and subtle responses to the conversation that's happening within the body really is of huge value to us, particularly when we're gently wanting to move out of pain. So hearing the whole body rather than just hearing the pain or just focusing on the uncomfortable back or the difficult shoulder or feeling unbalanced, you really need to sense the whole. And Liz Koch, who teaches the fluid movement practice that I integrate into my Qigong work, always has inspired me by explaining, let's see if I can say it in nearly as eloquent a way, that to affect change within our bodies, we have to come to the edges of our comfort. And I think the art of both Qigong and fluid Qi, and as such fluid Qi movement, which is my integration of the two, is finding the edges of what is our normal. So we hold ourselves in a certain way to cope, to be when we're uncomfortable. And by moving in classes with me, you're going to come to challenge, you're going to come to the edges of comfort. And those edges of comfort is where the magic of change happens. So what we need to try and do is hold on to the idea of being gentle within ourselves, but still coming close enough to the edges of our bodies that we can still affect change. So you're looking for a subtlety there, and the right balance for you in your body is what we need. I hope this helps a little bit. As you know, I work with a number of different things. I work with Mount Method, Qigong, and the fluid movement of core awareness, which is LISCO. Obviously, I work in clinic with the Bowen technique. Personally, I also work with meditation. I work with a naturopath for my nutrition and kinesiology, and Buteyko breathing. In the past, I've worked with belt sense psychotherapy, which is called Core Process. And IEMT is something I've worked with more recently to just deal with held beliefs and previous trauma. So that's an interesting thing. Integrated eye movement therapy, very, very effective actually, and very quick to affect change. So obviously there are many different things we can look at. Very few of us can actually afford financially or emotionally or time-wise to do everything. So just look at different things and take your time. And hopefully the work that we're doing together will help you on many different levels. And often when you do one or two things, it helps influence other areas within your wheel of health. Just sort of on a subtle level, changes happen everywhere else because of one or two spokes of the wheel you're looking at. And remember, obviously, everyone is different. So I've made very significant lifestyle changes. I know which techniques, as listed on here, work for me, but we are all different. So it's a case of being gentle and choosing the right things for you. And also, when I first came to Qigong, it was very early in the noughties, and it wasn't the right time. I just wasn't ready for it. And now it's a huge part of my life, but I literally poo-pooed it and walked away from it. So you might find that my classes might not be where you are right now, and that's okay. And you might come back to me in the future or to other teachers who work in a similar way. Anyway, we've got this, we'll sort it, and hopefully we'll get some progress. We'll get things going for you. So take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.